minutes with us. I'm sure it's going to be a breeze and you're going to love it, so get ready. As I said, I work at Different. So what we do is consult on marketing technology. So for companies that have technology and they don't know what to do with it, they don't know whether they're spending too much, that's what we try to do. Consult with them on that. Before then, I worked at HubSpot as a product marketer. So yeah, nice to be here. So do you want to say one or two things about yourselves, Vidhya?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So I come from IIS, which is Integral Ad Sciences. We are an ad verification, measurement, and optimization company, and we are based out of New York, Dublin, San Francisco, multiple different areas, and we partner with a lot of the marketing, advertiser, publisher companies.
But yeah, I'm Madhu Nayyar, senior consultant for Global Logic. I'm on the techie side of things, getting innovation and the platform needs for organizations to bring their use cases to life. Mostly working with LLMs, generative AI these days, but on the whole, a designer for the platforms, mainly on cloud. Thank you.
Okay, and so we're starting to talk about what AI is doing in the marketing field. And it's interesting also to note that I am a communications lead for women in AI in Ireland. So if that's something that interests you, happy to talk about that afterwards. But more than that is saying, how are marketers meant to look at AI in today's world? I'll give an example of how that is affecting my world as a marketer. And it started really with a conversation I had a few months ago. In HubSpot then, we wanted to talk to CTOs because we started to see the technology leads were now coming into conversations when it came to software. Because now with the crunch, they wanted to be part of the conversations on what marketers were buying and how they were buying what they were buying. So it was nice for me as a product marketing manager then to speak to our own head of technology, who is also a co-founder of HubSpot, Damesh Shah. And in that conversation with Damesh, I remember very well that he said, "What do you see in YouTube Shorts?" And then I said, whenever I go to YouTube Shorts, I'm crying because they're telling me about Kobe, how Kobe died, how Michael Jordan has no shoes, how some family, they really tried, and then, and then at the end of it, I'm crying, I'm like, I'm not going there anymore. He said, no way, that whenever I go, they're always giving me one nice technology thing to see the codes are new here, there's a new code based on this one, there's a nice tech thing. I was like, and he said, that's the power of algorithm, because they know what you like to see and what moves you, and they give me what I want to see. But now imagine what AI is going to be doing in a few years. If simple algorithm could do that. So now we have so much data. And as marketers, we're saying, we've got the data now. We spend a lot of time before we say, oh, we have this data, but we don't know how to interpret the data. Now you've got AI to interpret the data. So what exactly is the role of the marketer today? How are you then using the insights that come from that data to actually change things? And that takes me easily to customer psychology as well. How are we then starting to move things around? If AI can now give us the data, it can interpret the data, it can tell us, predict to us what customers want to do, what they're going to do next. It can tell us exactly when they buy, how they buy, what they love to buy next after buying. So what is our job? So now we start to say, is there a balance in this? Is there a human, factor to this? So if, for example, I have a team and all the team used to do was do surveys and read the statistics from the surveys, how are they now taking that time to move things around to say, can you focus a bit more on talking to the customer really and finding out how our service was? And I don't know whether you have anything to say about that, Vidhya. How is data changing the world of marketing and advertising from your own end?
Perfect question, actually, because when you're talking about data and marketing and how AI is actually revolutionizing a lot of it, let me come from it from an advertising standpoint, right? What do your customers want? They want to see where their interest fits with whatever brands they want to purchase, or that fits within their purchasing power or their segment of interest, whatever. And then what do brands want to see? They want to basically make sure that they cater to the audience that they are looking for. And they want to be associated with safe and suitable content that is, safe and suitable content that provides them with the right brand lift, at the same time gives the customers the experience that they are looking for. In the industry, it's taking off as something called a data flywheel, where you have these data-driven insights And then you have higher customer satisfaction that leads to higher revenues. Now, when you're talking about it, AI specifically in the world of advertising is looking at it from how a human brain actually thinks about it. Different forms of data, different modalities of data, and that's why the machine learning and the AI modeling looks at it textual, visual, auditory, different modalities of data, how to bring all of those insights and outcomes together at the scale at which you're looking for and make it more easier than before ever for marketers to do their job.
Bang on, like seriously. Madhu, from an LLM point of view, because you're now the cruncher of data, how does this come together? How does it work behind the scenes?
Yeah, so when we talk about LLM present in the market, they are more like general purpose LLMs, so anybody can use them. Now what we are moving towards is when we generate data keeping the thing in mind that this is what we want from the data. We are aspiring before we actually start storing our data. Earlier on, we had data, or we want to do this, or you can't do this with your data because you're not capturing enough data points. The quality is not that good.
Yeah.
But when it comes now, like we are getting more and more into precise needs we need from our data. So we can inspire or aspire anything we want with the data. We'll be able to get it with technology we have had in today's world.
Yeah, it brings to mind, imagine a few years when you go to a restaurant, for example, and now you go to the restaurant and give you a menu, and you're looking through the menu like, oh, what do I have for starter, for mains, all of that. In a few years, they already would know what you want to eat. Like you get in there, they already know this is what your pattern is, and like this is how you get into, eating and all of that. So the only thing that they then do is they give you your food, but then they come to the table and say, how was your meal today? So let's just start thinking about that. It's a thing of technology is going to do a lot of the work now. They're going to be able to predict auditory, like the way you think, the way you smell, the way you buy, the way everything. So what then is the role of the marketer? Always let's think about that. And then so when you go back into your teams as well, you're asking the right questions. Yeah, data can do this, but what can we do as well? And that brings me again to the subject of international marketing. Because now that we can do this, then it means that we can sit in a very nice office in Dublin too, or even right here, and create campaigns that actually resonate in Sao Paulo, to actually create something that is out of this world in another part of the world, in Lagos, Nigeria, where I come from. So it becomes interesting that you're able to start to see how you can actually create better, bigger, mightier things. So you're not thinking small anymore. With AI in marketing, you're actually able to change the world. So you build a software, and you're not just thinking of the messaging for your immediate space. With AI, you can ask, what is the nuance in UAE? If somebody in a nice scarf is actually the picture and the image of what they want to say, can I actually put it on my ad and change this text into what they want to see? That's the level we're talking about now. How are we now saying, can we go bigger than our company? Can we go bigger than our 4 staff members? Can we go bigger into the bigger world? And up to you, Madhu. What's that looking like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like AI or cognitive sciences in particular is not limited to just a dictionary of that language.
Yeah.
It also deals with the colloquies, the local phrases, the trends, removing all that bias. We are moving towards the era of AI where we're trying to clean the models, removing any sort of bias and make it more sensible or sensitive to people of different communities, so that we do have a societal aspect in mind. Who are we reaching out to? And again, on the point, you are reducing your cost down because your marketing campaign is much more narrow. You don't just broadcast your marketing audience. You select your audience which it's suitable to, and you get your budgets down. No more cold calling as such.
Yeah, and that's a good one. I know everybody loves to hear that there's no costs, reduce costs. Okay, cool stuff, Madhu. And Vidhya?
Yeah, so I want to touch upon a few things that you had in mind,
go.
right? The first thing is you were talking about international marketing and how to cater to the audience, not just from a community and a societal inclusion standpoint, but also how AI touches upon it, right? There is a lot of cross-lingual, multilingual, multimodal capabilities that we have in AI that essentially gets us to a point where language or geography is no longer a barrier. And having said that, there definitely is a lot of privacy and security that has to come hand in hand with that.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, but then, so just wanted to make sure that I touched upon that. But yes, the cross-lingual and multilingual aspect of things and the ability to construct, a model that actually understands to the nativity of a language and the society is something that's kind of revolutionary that's happening in the AI space in the past 2-3 years.
Wow. And then talking about ethics then, looking at it, there's no way we can talk about marketing and all of this going on without talking about the responsibility that comes with it. I remember a few weeks ago guest lecturing at DCU to some undergraduate marketers. And one question that came up from one of the students that stuck with me for so long, he asked about the Amazon situation a few years ago where a particular tool was approved and it was discriminatory against women when it came to employment, saving the CVs and all of that. You should check that out if you haven't. And so he asked a very fundamental question. He said, who approved it? And that's a question that stayed with me. And I think that's a question that business leaders, marketers need to also consider when we start to build so much, when we start to invest so much in tools. Who is asking the questions about inclusion, diversity, about privacy, about making sure that there is a form of, there's a tick in all of this. There's a mental responsibility when it comes to it. Who is asking those questions enough to be able to say, when a tool is going out, and in a few years' time, when the guardrails are up, the EU is coming up with regulations, commissions are coming up with regulations. In a few years, we don't have as much, leeway as we have today. If something then comes up in a few years with a product you developed or with something that you're campaigning, and the question is, who approved it? Will it be you if it's not a cool one? So whenever you're developing things today and saying things about AI, try and just inspire a team, inspire yourself, like challenge yourself and say, let's make sure that we're putting our hands up when it comes to ethics. We're putting our hands up with privacy. We're making sure that the privacy is right, in the way that it should be. And I think that, that would put you in a very, very right place with posterity. I know you have a lot to say with that, Vidhya.
Definitely, especially coming from the ad verification, measurement, and optimization space, right? There are a couple of things that we already have in the industry around governance, privacy, and compliance that the industry is getting towards. There is the cookieless world that they're talking about. There is, on the data end, there is already some GDPR compliance that's in place. And having said that, with a lot of autonomy, like how we have today with generative AI, comes a lot of responsibility to each one of us, right? So how are we able to leverage AI to speed up our work and essentially drive us to be, more efficient, at the same time be, extremely responsible about it. For example, I think there are subsequent talks that are going to be around misinformation, deep fakes, and all of that, right? So those are definitely some of the, downsides. It's the flip side of the coin. But AI also is evolving so quickly to be able to combat the downsides that are coming out of its own, agenda. So
how does it combat that? How does it do that?
Yes, so there is a lot of technology that we are able to develop with deepfake detection and with respect to detecting misinformation, and you would see a lot of startups doing that in advertising. That's primary for us, especially me coming from the US elections are coming out. So all of that becomes super important. And the other thing that's very important for us to remember is the consumer mindset, right? The attention span of people is becoming really, really short. The same messaging that you would send out in one single page of a web content or a 15-minute video is now going to be condensed within a YouTube Shorts or an Instagram Reel or a TikTok video. So how do you kind of send that effective message out there within that short span of time and even be able to detect some of the harmful effects that come within that short span of time, right? That's where AI is kind of neck to neck with detection and evolution.
Wow, that's impressive. And Sora came out a few days ago, and that's OpenAI's interpretation of text to video. Now we had Dolly before, that's text to picture. It's just getting crazier by the minute, like the way things are just evolving. Where are you sitting with this, Madhu, when it comes to the way you're developing? Who is responsible for making sure that people are protected?
I think you what you're asking for, who's responsible, as in who has a conscience.
Yes.
We as human beings have conscience, and we are the main separator between a machine and a human, or like an ethical business. I think at every level of a project, of a use case getting developed, at every step you have to think responsible AI in mind. Sometimes, like with OpenAI or large language models that are for general availability, it's a shared responsibility model, whereas the content and the abuse monitoring component is there out of use. But with secret or like private data, you may not need the cloud service provider to handle this. So you take this responsibility yourself and look after that. And I think let's not wait for any legislation to come out and say like this is not allowed. Let's think at every step. What data you're training with, how are you reinforcing it, how is your prompt engineered, like are you auditing your prompt and the responses from the model? Yeah, at every stage I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we all should be champions of what you just said everywhere we find ourselves. Just being that person that is that other voice. And in closing this, it's come to an end quite quickly, but what final challenge will you throw at everyone here today when it comes to AI in marketing? What's something you want them to remember when it comes to how you're building today and how you think that we should continue to build for the world that we're building with AI?
I think the tools at hand today, like the journey to getting live is much more quicker because we've got out of the box technologies and we don't have to spend that processing power training models from scratch itself. The data is all over the place. You don't need to like create data, bring it to a central location and then train your model. You can have data sitting anywhere it is. So it's a lot more. We are getting more sensitive about what data we capture, how we store it. Storage is cheaper. Object stores and the columnar formats are like way cheaper than what it used to be. So I think we can truly say like we are a data-driven age where we can define what data we capture, how we capture it, and what aspirations we need to take out of it.
Thank you, Madhu. Good job. Vidhya?
Yeah, so as we talk about data-driven decision making, there is also an essential and the most critical part about it is metrics. Data is actually going to help you derive metrics that tell you where things are going, right? And numbers don't lie. So in the space of marketing and advertising specifically, there are a number of different ways to measure how things are going, if they are going north or south. For example, the media quality is something that you always measure to see if, to reduce waste, to make it to zero waste. How do you associate brands to higher quality inventory? Metrics around it, around viewability or attention that's out there in the market. And the same way, how do you kind of get low quality inventory out the door, which is made for advertising sites or ad clutter? All of this, what's powering all of this behind the scenes is AI, right? So I think every industry, we have to have the capability to be able to measure what's the data-driven decision that's being made, and then kind of take insights and outcomes that come out of it.
And action them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And for me, lastly, is diversity. AI is going to give us, AI is all about data, like we said. And so whatever data is out there is what AI is going to interpret when we ask it questions. So for all the diverse voices out here, I'm just saying we need to speak up more. We need to let our voices be heard. Put the data out there. You have something to say, put it out there. You've got your own position on something, put it on LinkedIn. It's going to pick it from there. This is the age of say it if you feel it, but just make sure that it's inclusive, it's not divisive, because whatever you say that you just feel is a thought of yours and just having a nice time, just tweet it, AI is going to pick it. So it's a time of responsibility and looking out for, the minorities. Just look out for them a bit as well and just say, is this thing I'm doing, is it inclusive of everyone? And I think with that, we'll start to actually have a world that we wish for, that we really want, and see the beauty that comes out from our diversity. And last but not the least is the fact that a lot of companies now are investing so much money into AI tools. Can I just ask you to backtrack table and invest more time on strategy. If you take this time where AI is just still brooding to think about your strategy, when it's time to buy, you're making investment. You're making, you're actually making, you're buying stuff that actually make a lot of value. That means a lot to you, brings a lot of value to you, and you're not just wasting your money. So I hope that helps as well. But thank you so much for having us, and this has been amazing. Love you. Love it. Yeah.
Thank you all.